There are not many people that would be foolish enough to sit where I'm sitting here on VODACOM Durban July Day, and I tell you what, I'm not going to be the first to do it. But now that the gallops are finished, both on the poly track and on the grass surface here at Gravel Racecourse, what we're going to do today, we're going to delve back through the pages of history, and we're going to have a chat to one of the most active and experienced men in the business, a guy called Garth, who was victorious on Over the Air, he was victorious on Gatecrasher, he was victorious on the unbeaten Bush Telegraph. And of course he did run a whole host of seconds and thirds, which I'm sure he'll tell you about in due course. But he's going to give us some insight into what he thinks will win the 2016 renewal of South Africa's most famous thoroughbred horse race. You've heard it time and time again, and you will always hear it. The VODACOM Durban July. One of the preconditions of the whole VODACOM Durban July is that the horses must gallop here if they're in province. Doesn't matter if they're going to be running on Sunday like Rabada is, or if they ran last Sunday like Deputy Judd. Those are the terms and conditions, whether you like it or whether you don't. But in the meantime, as promised, here's Garth to give us his impressions of the 2016 VODACOM Durban July.
Anyone that's won this race will be able to tell you that it's the ultimate dream of every jockey.
Now, I've got a very, very vivid shot of you leaving the parade ring on a horse called the Tiger, going like this. This will win. He won in emphatic style. We know that you haven't got a crystal ball, but what's Garth melting pot telling us about the 2016 version?
Luck in the running, Black Arthur. I thought the gallop good. I think his prep's been wonderful. He looks like the horse has got everything for a good horse. I know the jockeys jumped ship, but I mean that happens to the best of them. Felix could see often, unfortunately, end up on the wrong one. It's all these runners, Snake's runners, are probably well prepared, like Dean Canemares and like all the top conditioners. But Black Arthur, I think, is the right horse.
On the outside, Sleep Machine, London News holding on, Dollar Fortune, Tuerissimo, Sleep Machine, London News just won the Rothmans.
Going back to 1996, it was Douglas White that came within a whisker of upsetting London News in the centennial running of the Rothmans July in those days on a horse called Sleek Machine for Mary Liley, and I know that it's always been his burning desire to win this race.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and this is a rider that's ridden all over the world, top rider, positions his horse as well, knows what he's got to do. Wouldn't it be great for him?
What do you do, Garth, from that draw, given the fact that the false rail might be far out? I don't think it'll be as far out as last year, but it almost kind of forces you to come to the outside.
I think the running will be probably up the outside for all those horses running on. He's going to have to commit himself and try and get in. I don't think he wants to be up in the running, unless obviously they pull up and they go very slow, and he might use him going down the hill. But it's very difficult to say. It's once those gates open, it's who decides to go, what the inside horses do. But from that position, they'll be pressurising the inside horses, and the inside horses will be trying to hold them out. And a guy like Dougie, he'll take the opportunity. He'll see where the gaps are, and he'll slip in very quickly.
The weight structure, Garth, from 60 kilograms with a lot of horses under sufferance, what does that tell you?
Yeah, it doesn't paint a good picture for me. I mean, if you look at it from a weight point of view, then I think you're looking at French Navy as one of the better horses on the day. Great prep, probably the older horse that'll be running on, and a horse like Solid Speed running level weights with the 3-year-olds. Very hard. In fact, even the filly, the favourite at the moment, she's receiving one kilo from the 3-year-old colts. Hard ask. I prefer it when it was a handicap. You got those up and coming horses coming through with lightweights that troubled the top horses that were there. I won with 49 on Bush Telegraph. Model Man carried 58. This race, for me, could be a handicap. I just think that as they got it now, there's too many horses, level weights, too many under sufferance, and you're getting the 1 and 2 time winners in the race, 2 and 3 time winners in the race that are all, and they're holding their own because of the way it's structured.
So in other words, what you're saying is either make it a handicap or make it a weight for age race.
That's what I say. Make it a handicap. I say a handicap. I say let the up and coming horses come into this race well planned, well programmed. Come in with a lightweight, you've got a chance, and then you've got your hardened campaigners that are carrying top weight that are always there. Your great horses, and they get there's a chance that they can get toppled. I mean, you got to look back at Sea Cottage and those
Jolly
kind of
Fire.
and Jolly Fire. You got to just look at the weight structure, and you got to look at what a great race that was. I mean, that'll go down in history. Dead Heat in the Rothmans July, the top weight horse that was shot the year before, getting up to catch the lightly weighted Jolly Fire.
Right, we've mentioned a few horses, going back to Storm Signal, Bold Monarch, Bush Telegraph, Over the Air. But one of the most scary moments in your entire racing life must have been on one of the most charismatic horses ever to race, particularly on a left-handed turn. He was almost invincible. But I'd like you to take us through the last 400 meters of the 1975 Rothmans July.
We got permission on gallop day to gallop on the inside of the dolls. The only horse allowed to gallop on the inside of the dolls because of his tendency to run off the track, which was proven later to be a problem in his foot and his joint. He galloped dead straight. I galloped with a companion, he came dead straight up the dolls. He didn't look to hang with me, and I was settling him behind. He would drop the bridle, and he was obviously a far better horse from behind. Although he was a great horse from the front, he was a lot better from behind. He conserved his energy, and then with that huge action, I mean, he had the biggest action in a horse outside of Icelander that I've ever seen. And in the July itself, I was nicely positioned where I wanted to be. Came into the straight, and I made my move up the middle. And the horse moved out and sharply shunted Jamaican Music, who in turn hit me out. And at that stage of the race, it's crucial. This is a short straight. You don't have time to think about it. It's split-second decisions, and it's the July. And I took him to go out. I've already got hit, a bad swerve out, and I took him out for his run. And coming up the outside, those days, the crowd stood on the running rail. You had 50,000 people jumping. Gatecrasher, blinkers on. He didn't see the crowd. He wasn't hanging. He held his position. He was running straight. Distinctly was on his outside. First time distinctly running on the track. I know Ferraris will think completely different because obviously you think that way. I'm talking about a long way. I've won 3 Julys. I don't have to worry. I'm telling you exactly how it went. We're in a picture. We're not in I lose the race in objection, and my first offence in 9 years. They recommend me for 2 months suspension. Okay, I appealed against the severity of the sentence. 3 weeks before the July, we ran in the Guineas. I rode a horse called Orion, top 3L from Cape Town, Archangel and Gatecrasher. And the head stop here, Mr. Sproul called me and he said, "Jockey Puller, if you have any intention of overtaking Gatecrasher, do not come on his outside. He has a tendency to run off the track." I said, "Mr. Sproul, I've ridden against him a few times. I know that." I ran second, Archangel won, and Gatecrasher ran third with Michael Robertson running up the outside. 4 weeks later is the July. He doesn't call Jockey van Boemen in the biggest race in the country.
Tell him the same thing.
An inexperienced apprentice riding a horse that had never run on the course to tell him the same thing. And in my grounds of my appeal against the severity of the sentence, I said, had you told apprentice van Boemen prior to the running of the July, as you'd warned me prior to the running of the Guineas, I wouldn't be sitting here before you today. He stood up, he nearly broke the table. He was so upset. He said, "I did you a favour. I had no reason to do Van Boemen a favour." I said, "You didn't have to do me a favour. I'm the second leading rider in the country. I didn't need you to do me a favour." And that just goes to show. The only picture of the race, a press picture of distinctly running onto the hindcourt of Gatecrasher, and it looks like Gatecrasher is turning over him, is the mere fact that distinctly is running off the crowd that are jumping, throwing the race cards and jumping on the rail that we ran. After that race, they moved the rail away from the crowd, so you have the vibratory rail that you see there and the running rail, the side of it, which is as it should be in every country. Horses anticipate. When you get into this winning post, you have a right-hand turn is what you're looking at here, and horses anticipate that as you come in. You see horses anticipate the inlet here and duck into it, and other horses will go that way. And on this track, a lot of horses will even shift for the shadows of the track. It was just one of those unfortunate things. We were coming up the track. It was the July. We were throwing everything at it. Distinctly happened to run third. I know Mr. and Mrs. Oppenheim didn't want to
object.
They didn't want to accept the race on. They didn't want to accept the winning race.
Principal Boy had nothing to do with it.
Because Principal Boy had nothing to do with it. Gets back to my old argument. And I've said it all along, if the stops deem one horse interferes with another horse, and it should have beaten that horse, which is the rule. It says you must, if you want to object, you've got to be seen to be able to beat the horse you're objecting against. Then surely you place that horse first, and the horse in your position that they take the race away from. And it doesn't go to the second horse, because the second horse was beaten anyway. He was beaten by a horse causing interference and beaten by a horse receiving the interference.
So it should have been distinctly Principal Boy Gatecrasher.
100%. That's how it should have been, and that's how the opposite. And I still think that going forward, that's how it should be. If they're doing a professional job, and I've often said it's a staff's job to object. Why would you need me to go into the boardroom and object, take the race away from, say, Mike Azzi, and the very next race I'm riding for Mike Azzi, I've got to walk in the parade ring.
But the funny thing is, Garth, I remember very clearly is that Christine Mason was on the front page of the Sunday Times. They didn't have time to pull the picture
No.
She was still on the front page.
And Dennis Durrant worked for Mr. Brown at the time, and you've never seen a happier guy in your life. He used to ride gate crash and work, but obviously I wasn't up here all the time. And George Davis, you've never seen a happier guy than, I've got a picture of them leading it in and Dennis Durrant jumping in the air. And even to today, it haunts him, the fact that the horse that he rode won the July and they took it away. But it's those things. I was involved in the next one where I got cut off on the inside fence by surfing home. Checked. Yeah, shifted around him. A horse that would have definitely won. Moved up to challenge him. He swerved back out. I clipped his heels. I actually stumbled badly and still ran. I think I ran fourth. Yeah. And they demoted him to fifth, and they moved me up one place. So
Spacewalk ended up getting it.
Yeah, Spacewalk got it, and he had nothing to do with it. So look, I mean, it's sad to lose it, and to win it is also not nice. It's the same as Richard Fourie and Waisha and Waiama. Yeah, it's
the fabric of the game.
Yeah, it's the fabric of the game. You've got to take it. You take it on the chin, you come back fighting. I've been fortunate to win this race a few times. It's a great race. It really is a great race. And training now, I love being with horses. I love training, but I tell you now, I miss the Met, the July, the big ones, the Summer Handicap. Those are the races you miss, because those are the races where your true colours come out.